Hello and welcome back to Growing FPV. This episode is going to be very, very near and dear to my heart because it's the reason I started an FPV. For me, the most important thing and the biggest draw to FPV for me was the footage. It's very unique. Very, very unique footage out there. Nothing else out there does what these FPV drones will do. Not DJI, well, maybe with their FPV thing that they have now. Whatever. You're just not going to get what these guys can do. So I went out and I started with a Hero Session 5, which I smashed up and crashed. And then I went and I bought the Orca Caddx FPV, which I have a review for. I'll leave it in the description. It's a $100 camera. Works great. If you're not too crazy about footage, then by all means, grab it up. If for $100, if you crash and destroy it, buy another one. So I upgraded to the GoPro because I wanted a little bit better footage. Hero 8. Now the GoPro, just by everybody here watching it, is familiar with GoPro footage. GoPros are probably the best action cam out there. I don't think anybody really can dispute that. But they're also more expensive. I wanted to do something or get something else for some of these other quads that I fly. And it's the smaller Cinewhoops. Something a little lighter that I didn't have to break apart and everything like that. So I ended up buying the SMO 4K. So in this episode, I am going to compare the differences between the two of them and kind of show you a side-by-side comparison. Both of them have stabilization. And the GoPro has HyperSmooth, which is built in, and the Insta360 has FlowState. Both do a very good job when it comes to stabilizing. However, the Insta360 is a little bit more convenient. It's convenient in a way that you record in 4K, 1080p, whatever that you want, and then later on in post, either on your phone through the app or on your computer, laptop, or whatever you're using, you then can add stabilization, change the field of view. You can go into ultra wide, wide, FPV, narrow, linear. You can choose all of that right in the app after you already have the footage, which is nice. I like the idea of being able to choose if I want FlowState on, or if I want FlowState off, or whatever, or, you know, the different views on it. And you can do that in post with this. With the Hero 8, you can't. You cannot change the HyperSmooth. So if you want HyperSmooth on this, you have to click it or add it on before you fly, before you press the record button. So then you're stuck running with HyperSmooth, which normally is just fine. However, there are times where you just don't want it, or you only want a part of your footage to be stabilized, or, you know, maybe you want it all stabilized except for one other little part that you don't want stabilized. Who knows? But this doesn't give you that option. It does in a different way, though. And in a different way is buying a program called RealSteady Go. RealSteady Go is a $100 program. It's done by GoPro. It's designed only for GoPros, and it's designed to only work with unstabilized, so no HyperSmooth footage. So if you have HyperSmooth on, you can't use RealSteady Go. Just don't even bother. So you go out and you fly with no stabilization at all if you plan on using RealSteady Go. But I'm not really going to dig too much into RealSteady Go. I am going to render footage from here and kind of show you the difference between RealSteady Go and HyperSmooth, just to kind of give you an idea. So let's get to that. So here I have Insta360 Studio open, and I have one of my recordings loaded up in here. And if you look over to the right hand side, you'll see that there is options that you can choose from. So all I'm doing here is adjusting it out, because you can actually clip your videos. Okay, so now this video here is actually with no flow state stabilization, and you can kind of see all the jerkiness and whatnot in it. Now watch. Switch it back over, and you can see just how smooth it really is. Now I'm going to move it back here to the previous view. And look at the difference with flow state. So much smoother. Now it's pretty amazing what this little Insta360 can do. There is no color editing in this. This is just straight off the camera. Now you can change up your perspective here, your field of view options. You can go ultra wide, wide, linear, narrow. And if I was in 4K, I believe that's where they have the FP view option, or FPV. Here's a better view of the differences with the different field of view. All right, so pretty much I'm just going to find the end of my clip here where I want to stop. I'm going to cut it or trim. All right, right before I crash. And trim it up. And now I'm going to go and export it. But this one I'm going to export without flow state. Okay, so you click on a yellow icon up here for doing your export. There we go. Now in here you have different options for your resolution. You have your bitrate options, frame rate options, and you have the encoding format and export type, which is going to be video, so I don't know why you do anything different. Here you can choose color plus and remove grain. Like if it's a little lower light, you might have some added green in there. This one I'm going to do no flow state and no color plus. Okay, so here it is, and it's rendering now. So I'm going to fast forward to the completion here, and we will continue. Okay, now that those are done, so now I'm going to show you side-by-side views. I did one with flow state, without flow state, and one with flow state with color option. So I'm going to show you what those look like right now. Okay, so here we are with flow state on the left, flow state off on the right. Hence the captions. So you can clearly see how much of a difference flow state does for your footage. And it still looks fantastic. It does a phenomenal job in smoothing out your footage. Again, this footage here is not color edited in any way. This is straight off of the camera. I mean, the quality of it is pretty impressive, and it's not like cropping and zooming in, and you're not losing a lot of your resolution at all using this, and it does amazing. Look at how smooth that is. Now, in the next clip here, I'm going to show you just what the color option does look like. And I'm going to use two clips, this same clip here, FlowState on and FlowState on with the color option. All right. So again, as the captions say, FlowState on is on the left. FlowState with the color option is on the right. And just look at how it brings up the greens, brings up the shadows. It does a very nice job. I mean, good enough to where you really don't have to color grade. In my opinion, I think it looks great. That would save me a lot of time in post, because I would throw that right on there and I'd be happy with that. And it just brings out the green, just brightens it up and makes it look fantastic. I do see a little bit of artifacting in the sky. That is a little bit of an issue there. But if you're not doing anything professional and you're just putting it out on YouTube, I see this being perfectly usable. Okay, so with the GoPro, when you use HyperSmooth on the camera, you don't get an option like you do with the Insta360, where you can have the same footage stabilized or not stabilized. So in order to do this, I actually had to have two different clips to put side by side as an example. Now when I go through and I do the RealSteady Go, then I can use the two videos side by side so you get a little better view of that. All right, anyway. So, as you can see, HyperSmooth also does a very good job. I'm going to go as far as to say, in my opinion, that I think that the Insta360 does a little bit better. I could be wrong. The GoPro image, in my opinion, I think looks a little more crisp. Colors seem a little bit better. But I think the stabilization between the two of them, I'm going to have to give it a little bit more towards the Insta360. All right, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to show you the comparison with RealSteady Go. Okay, so here is a side-by-side comparison with RealSteady Go. On the left is non-RealSteady, on the right is RealSteady. And as you can see, everything is like really cropped. I want to show you something here real quick. Let me just pull it up. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the same frame on both the non-stabilized and the RealSteady Go. You can see how RealSteady Go crops and zooms in order to get that smoothness. So you're losing out on a lot of video. Here's a different view of that. As you can see, you're losing out a lot. Now, RealSteady Go does have some adjustments that you can do, some settings that you can do. I'm not really going to get into that in this video. I will show you, however, what it looks like in the settings. But one thing to keep in mind, that when this happens, you are going to lose some quality of your image because you are cropping in to that, you're expanding it, so the pixels are going to get bigger. So let me skip over here to RealSteady Go and just show you exactly what you do in that. Okay, so once you open up the file that you want, RealSteady Go is going to use its algorithms to give you a smooth preview of how it's going to look with the settings you have for it. Right now, everything's set to default, just normal. And it's going to give you this little thing here, and there's my ugly mug talking. Let's skip past me. Okay, on to the flying. So now in RealSteady Go, you can trim, which is nice. That way you don't have to render the entire thing, because RealSteady Go does take a little bit of time to render. But when you do render, you lose your audio. So this is pretty much how RealSteady Go works. So here is a quick look at the advanced settings options box. And as you can see, you can change up the smoothness, you can lock the horizon, cropping speed, etc., etc. Again, I'm not really going to dig into these because it's pretty self-explanatory, and you just got to play around with it to find the settings that you like the best. And you just click OK out of that dialog box. You click the save button. That was just a little warning telling me that because I trimmed my video file, that I'm going to lose any kind of sound. And it's going to go through and take its time. Okay, so this here is, as the captions once again state, the left is the SMO 4K with the FlowState on and no color editing. On the right is the GoPro Hero 8 with HyperSmooth on with no color editing at all. I'm not going to put RealSteady Go on here because this is really just comparing what the camera can do without any extra cost. All right, so you just saw the footage comparing these two guys. And what do you think? My thoughts on it is, for the price and for the ease of use, and that it already comes in a naked form and it's really easy to use, super lightweight. It does 4K, it does amazing stabilization, it does it fast. It gives you some really nice post editing features, such as you can choose the field of view that you want. You can go stabilized, you can go unstabilized, you can add the color option to it and save yourself some time with editing, because it does a very, very good job. I do know that this is not the greatest indoors in low light and indoor footage. Now, undoubtedly, the GoPro is going to be a better camera, and that's evident in some of the footage that you see some of these guys using out there, like, let's say, Nurkala, Johnny FPV, just to name a couple. Those guys are using GoPros for a lot of their footage, and they make amazing footage. They're using the GoPro. They're using RealSteady Go, and obviously they have some tips. They obviously have some tricks that they use, some techniques that I'm not privy to because I really don't use RealSteady Go. Not yet, at least. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I do have to apologize that I did not show the app for both of these cameras. The app is really straightforward. It's really basic. It's self-explanatory on both of these. They're very simple, basic apps. But the nice thing is with both of them, you can pretty much adjust everything through the app. You can adjust everything. You can edit a lot of it through the app. I think GoPro has some app called Quick or something like that allows you to do like quick little footage and all this other stuff right from here on your phone. So, sorry, it is almost 2 a.m. in the morning. So I'm going to let this video go with that, and I will let you guys make the choice on what you think is a better option for yourself. And take it from there.